Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to my wrap up of the month of May, which was my first full month being a full-time booktuber and book reviewer. And wow, did it go by fast. It really went by so fast. And I'm so excited to talk with you about my stats and then my top 5 favorite books that I read this month. But first, just wanted to go over some events and things like that. So May 1st is when I launched my Patreon, and a month out, we already have 101 members, and we've hit most of my basic finance goals for doing this full time, and that's amazing. I mean, there's still a long ways to go with that, especially to help balance out the fact that YouTube goes through ups and downs. You know, it's not a steady guarantee in the way that Patreon is mostly a guarantee. You know, when people subscribe, they are generally committing to be with you for a while. But I can't believe it. I did not expect that to happen. I didn't expect to feel so that we would reach that so quickly. That's my goal for us to hit by the end of the 90 days, and we've kind of gotten there so quickly. So that's great. Obviously, that doesn't mean I'm just gonna be happy staying at one place, but it's a great jumping off point, and it helps me to be more confident and to get excited to find ways to expand and to dig in and make this bigger and better, and to grow my community in amazing ways. Also, this has led to me being able to be a part of a lot more community events. There's been a lot of reading sprints, and we had 2 different readathons that happened in May. Both the Mafia Romance Readathon, which I was the genesis of starting that last year. It was even bigger and more fantastic this month. Just loved it. And then I participated in the Historical Romance Readathon, which ended up being good because the only historicals I read in May were the ones I did for the readathon. I don't know how that happened. That never happens to me, but you know, life is weird that way. But yeah, it was just so great. I was able to make several trips home to my family, which I do think explains why I didn't necessarily read more books this month than I have in previous months, but I was more free to be there for my family. My sister had a surprise surgery, and not a surprise in a bad way. I know that sounds when I say that, but there was a procedure she's been meaning to have, and May just ended up being the time to do it. And I told her, I was like, you know, I'm going to be able to be available to help, so let me know when the doctor says you're going to do it, and I'll be there. And she let me know on a Wednesday that she was having it on a Friday, and I was like, well, okay, I absolutely can do that. I'll be there for you. And that just means so much to me. That being able to be there for my family and to be more around for my nieces is just that makes the heartbreak of losing your job and feeling unsure, it makes it worth it almost immediately. The payoff of trusting my gut and not trying to scramble to find a job to replace what I lost so immediately. You know, the community and my viewers and my supporters, you have rewarded me tenfold for doing that, and you've only pushed me to want to do more and more right now. So I'm very, very happy about that. So, all right, enough of what's been going on. Let's go ahead and dive into these stats, and then I'll talk about, like I said, my top 5 reads. So I will scooch over so I have room to put sometimes I stay in the middle and then I don't have room to put the graphics up. So here we go. I read 52 books this month. That was 16,807 pages, and that works out to 560 pages per day. This was actually about, let me flip back. This was almost 1,000 more pages, even though I read one less book. And I think some of that is, I just read a lot of bigger books this month, which I think is, you know, well, that explains it. I read 1,000 more pages, but it all works out. Oh, sorry. My allergies are so bad. I will try not to have to itch my nose every 30 seconds, but all the popple trees and that, not popple, which one is it? They're losing all their seeds is basically what I'm saying. Anyway, The format of these was 16 ebooks, 16 audiobooks, 12 ARCs, and 26 physical books, which of course mixes in with the audiobooks usually. But I was very proud of how many physical books I read this month. It was almost double what I did last month. And I mean, in the month of May, I did purposely try to choose a lot of books that I owned copies of them. And part of that was we were doing a lot of rereads in the month of May of books that I already owned. So it was a good mix of that. That makes me happy to get to the books that I already own because I own way too many of them that are unread. The ratings of these books was, I had 2 6 stars, although one of those was a reread because of rereading books for my patrons. So only one new 6-star book. There was 12 5 stars, 6 4.5, 24 4-star books, 6 3.5, 3 3 stars, 1 2.5, and 2 2 stars. Unfortunately, a couple of those are both like new releases, so that's always fun. The subgenres that I read, no surprise that there is 18 dark since we had a Mafia readathon. Only 5 historical, like I said, 8 fantasy, 15 contemporary, 3 erotic, 2 paranormal, 1 sci-fi, and 1 other. And then another, like, this isn't officially a stat, but this was something I've meant to add in last month, and like I didn't, but I did in previous months. And that's telling you like what my top tropes were within like the subgenres. So the main ones that I read were age gap, no surprise, mafia, no surprise, enemies to lovers, BDSM, and friends to lovers. I was surprised how many friends to lovers that I had this month. Usually that's one of my lower ones. So yeah, those were the tropes I was reading the most of. Now for the fun part, my 5 favorite books that I read this month. Just a reminder, I always try to put this in. Again, I'm only going to talk about my top 5 books that I read. If you'd like to know more about every book that I've read, and in case you didn't know this, in case this is your first video, I do weekly wrap-ups where I talk about every book that I've read in depth, usually not into full spoiler territory. If I do spoilers, I put a spoiler tag up, and usually that's only if I really got something to bitch about. Just saying. Just saying. So you can check out my playlist of weekly wrap-ups. I'll put it up here, and that has all the books that I read in the month of May and for the whole year if you want to check out that playlist. But when I do my monthly wrap-ups, because it would literally be hours worth, because as is, usually each weekly wrap-up is about an hour. So you could see by how long it would be. So yeah, but let's dive in. My new 6-star read that I read this month was Always Practice Safe Hex by Juliette Cross. I would normally already have a copy of this in my hands, but Juliette is sending me a signed copy of this one. I am, full disclosure, as I always say, very good friends with Juliette. I've been chatting with her. It's not quite daily right now because she's in a very busy time of the year, but we talk weekly at least. And she was very excited / nervous for me to read this. Juliette is so adorable. She's the kindest woman. She's fantastic. But this is the 4th book in her Stay a Spell series, which I've had some interesting comments about these lately, which I love. I love because I love to set the record straight. I know these books, and actually I have the whole series is right down here, of her Stay a Spell books. I know these covers maybe look young, maybe, I don't know. They have some beautiful designs, and once you've read the books, you'll actually understand like what all of these beautiful symbols are. I probably just held that up right where I put the picture, so we'll see. But they are spicy books. Like the characters are all like mid-age too. They're not youngins by any means, and they're spicy. So Always Practice Safe Hex on my spice scale, it was a 4.5. It was spicy because I had someone think these were like YA or they were like fun contemporary, and I get it. Like this kind of cartoon cover, kind of, you know, it's definitely an illustrated cover, definitely maybe gives that vibe, but no, these are spicy. And this book, This book is the spiciest book by Juliette I've ever read, and I've read quite a few. I don't want to give too many details about this book because if you have been reading the series or you start this series because I've mentioned it, I don't want to spoil a lot for you. But I will say this romance is between Lavinia and Gareth. Livy is one of the Savoy sisters, and Gareth is a Grimm. And now for the past few books, we've been wondering more about the Grimms and what their powers are and where they came from and all these things. And Livy and Gareth have kind of this antagonistic, kind of I wouldn't fully call it enemies to lovers, but Livy she has bad vibes off of him. Not bad vibes, but like she's built maybe a wall up against him. And Gareth just thinks she is the feistiest, sexiest, most voluptuous woman that he's ever seen. And he tells her in the prologue of this book that it is a matter of when, not if, that he has her tied to his bed. It's going to happen. And he gets a chance to prove his case even more so when they both get assigned to work on this marketing campaign to try to win, I think it's like, I don't know whether it's win a position or win funding. I can't remember which that it was. But they both end up working on this project together. And Gareth starts his full-scale war attempt or campaign to win over Livy. And I don't want to tell you what his powers are, but let's just say the powers that he has definitely aid him in his sexual campaign for Livy. But more than that, and why this is a 6-star book for me, because granted, the sexual chemistry and the banter and all of that alone would get it there. But this book has something very special in it, and that is the family that Gareth finds with Livy. He does have some living family, but he's not close with them, and he's not engaged with them in the same way that Livy is with her sisters and brothers-in-law. And he gets welcomed into that circle, and her giving him a community and a found family is almost more tender and intimate than their sexual experiences together, which, believe me, those are top tier. This book is the kinkiest book that Juliette has written. As I said, when he means tied to his bed, he means literally, because Gareth likes to exert control over everything. Not just because he likes to be dominant, but because it helps him control his power to be in control at all times. And Livy, once she gets past that, where she's trying to play coy with him, she runs to that darkness and dominance with her arms wide open in such a generous and beautiful fashion that I cried many times reading this. Granted, if you know me, I can cry at a drop of a feather, so I don't know what that's saying, but it is a very touching and beautiful, and I highly recommend this series. There's audiobooks for the first books out. It will be coming for Safe Hex very soon, but yeah, the first books are also on KU. This book is currently not, because Juliette already had a pre-order set for this before she decided to put the Stay a Spell books into KU. But you'll be able to read all the other ones in Kindle Unlimited if you have that, and then you could buy this one and fall in love with them. Okay, moving along. Next, I have a book that I read for the Mafia Readathon. And I never planned to read it, but this author kind of went through the Mafia Readathon and like everyone was reading her. And now I did not like the first book in the series really at all, but all of my friends who were reading the series during the readathon, they're like, please read the next one. It's a totally different setup. These books are barely connected to each other. You need to read it. And I've said that to other people too. So when friends that I trust say that to me, I'm usually willing to give it a go when they say that to me. So I did. I read the Owned by a Sinner by Michelle Hurd, which is book 2 in her Sinner series. Book 3 is coming in June, and I definitely signed up for an arc of that one because I freaking loved the second one. But they do stand alone. So I did not love the first one. You can go back and look at my Mafia vlog if you'd like to know why I didn't like the first one. But if you don't want to read the first one because I didn't like it, you can skip right to this one and you didn't miss anything. Because the Sinner series is connected very loosely, whereas each book that will be in the series, which I believe there'll be 6 of them by the end, is about a different mafia boss in like a different part of either the country or the world. And they're a part of this group called the Priesthood, where they meet biannually to discuss what's happening. So they all have an alliance with each other, and they all meet up and they discuss the issues they have. And so that's the only way that it's connected. They will come to support one another if it's needed, but you can just read this one if you want to, and it's great. So this one is about our hero, who is the head of the Italian mafia, as well as he is the boss of this construction or like architectural company. And our heroine, she gets a job as a receptionist there. She has a father who is kind of sick. He had some heart attacks, and what we know as readers from reading the prologue is that her father is actually a member of the the Irish mafia, and he actually works for this boss. She doesn't know that, because her parents, they had an affair. They had a one-night stand affair with each other, and she was the result of that. And then the father was like, hey, I'm a part of the mafia and I don't want you guys involved. So I'm going to kind of step back and be out of your lives, but I will still support you. I'll send you money. I'll be there for you, but I don't want you in this at all. And so when this father, who she is now in his life, like things have changed over the years. I think she's 23, something like that. He finds out she's working at this company. He's like, you can't work there. And he won't explain why. And she's like, no, I want to work there. Well, a couple things happen. Number one, at the time, the boss he's not in the office when she starts working. His stepbrother is. And this stepbrother is a pervert and a rapist and a horrible person. And he's abusing his power pretty much immediately, trying to get in her pants. And when the boss comes back, he tries to mitigate the situation that's going on, but things escalate. This hero also has some issues like being touched, even by people that he cares about. He doesn't like being touched. He doesn't want any of that. He's a neat freak. He's a clean freak. But when he bumps into our heroine one day, when they're getting in the elevator, he doesn't feel that. And he doesn't notice it right away, you know, but he bumps into her and he doesn't notice it. And then another time he's like helping her out, and he realizes that he can touch her, and he becomes obsessed with her. So this is one where like, it's an age gap. It's an office romance. It's got a power dynamic because he's the boss. But you'll see when you read this, like whenever it comes to her, he is like, I don't want to make a move that you don't want. I'm not like my stepbrother at all. I don't want to be harassing you. So like, you have to like be okay with what I'm going to do. But once he knows she might be interested, and once she gets put in danger in a really like horrible way, trigger warning for sexual assault, like I'm just gonna lay it down, he goes like full possessive alpha, and it's like, all right, now the choice is done. Like, I'm gonna protect you. It's happening. And I loved it. I really did. I loved it. This one had, though, like a 3 on my spice scale, just because everything is pretty delayed. By how the story is told, it should be. That is not a critique from me that it's a 3 on the spice scale. The story that's being told has room to breathe. And, you know, after she is assaulted, like, she's not just going to jump right in bed with this guy, even if she cares about him. So, anyway, just want to put that out there. Loved it. Next, I do have a book that I read in the historical romance readathon, one of the 5 historicals that I read, but I absolutely adored it, and I did have an arc of this book as well, and that is A Daring Pursuit by Kate Bateman. I've enjoyed a Kate Bateman before, but I've never liked it quite as much as I like this one. This is book 2 in the Ruthless Rivals. I have read an arc of the first one, which I didn't love, so I was hesitant to take an arc of this one as well, but it's one of the books with NetGalley. Like, I am an approved person for St. Martin's paperbacks, and the cover was so beautiful. Like, this is kind of the new style, but it's still really beautiful cover, and so I was like, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. And as I haven't said, I was having kind of a rough go of the historical romance readathon. I wasn't vibing with anything. And so I was like, this is going to be my last book for the readathon. I hope that I like it. And boy, did I. This is about Karis Davies, who obviously the families are rivals. That's what it's called. And if you read the first one, you kind of know why. And then there's Tristan, who is a Montgomery. And he's looking for a respectable woman to wed, and Karis, she has a reputation, not necessarily that she is like a harlot or anything, but she purposely dresses herself very scandalously and is kind of scaring off the proper gentleman that she should be with, I guess. I don't know how we say this. And they have this secret mutual pining for each other that they've had for quite a few years. He was away in the army for a certain amount of time. She ended up having a situation happen where she's no longer a virgin, and she doesn't want that information used against her. Someone is blackmailing her, and so she purposely is like keeping herself away from any man who might want to marry her because she doesn't want to lie to them, but she also doesn't want to tell them what she did. And again, she's being blackmailed. And when Tristan, through certain events, finds out what has gone down, she is saying like, well, I don't want to marry anyone. I don't think it would be that great. I don't think I'm missing out on anything. And Tristan's like, so this sex that you had, was it actually good? Because I think that's foolish of you to say that you're not missing out on anything. And she kind of dares him, well, prove it to me. Prove to me what I'd be missing out on. So there happens to be a house party that's being thrown by, I believe it's her brother and his sister, because they were the couple from the first book. And they're both going to be at this house party. His new home that he's building isn't that far away from there. And so they agree for this week of this house party that they will meet up and explore things together. So yeah, it becomes a sex deal between the two of them. And I love it. I love it. Also, our heroine is an animal lover, and she is a bit independent. This is why she's being able to be blackmailed, because there was money that was left to her independently of her brothers, and that's kind of what she's being blackmailed with, unfortunately. But I just loved it. The chemistry between them was great. The heat level was about a 3 on my spice scale, which is very good for historical. Usually historicals don't get up that high for me, but I felt like it built in a great way. Like their feelings falling behind the sexual experiences they're having was done very well. The third act conflict in this, which is always my problem with really any romance. I'm not totally laying this on historicals' door, but for me it happens the most in historicals that the third act conflict is a fail for me. I don't know, that's how it works out. But this one was very much, there is external circumstances that are causing the issues because of her blackmailer, because of just other outside things. Yes, there's a conflict of like, we're the rival families, and he is like, I need a respectable wife, but it's not so that he ever says anything like irreparable or that she does either. And anyway, I'm saying enough. I love this. This was so great. Tristan was so swoony. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If his name is Tristan, I probably love him. And Karis she got herself in a pickle, but she's not a bad woman. You know, she's not that you would be bad if you had sex, but like the person that she had slept with, he's not a great guy. And she's very ashamed of that. And her more wanting it to be kept a secret is because she doesn't want to shame her brothers. And they're wonderful brothers. They would not have been mad at her. But she just didn't want them to be disappointed in her because she feels dumb for falling for what happened. So I love Tristan kind of changing her mind about all these things. And yeah, I just loved it. I really, really did. And I was so happy that I loved it. And I can't wait for the third one. I'm crossing my fingers that one's great as well. It has a beautiful cover, and you definitely find out who the couple in the third book is going to be when you read this, because there's another set of siblings between, like, they're not a set of siblings, but one of her siblings and one of his siblings that will be in the next one too. So loved it. All right, then I'm so glad that one of these was like a 5-star for me, which a lot of them were. because I want to talk about this series all the time now. And so the one I picked is Bexley's Biker, which I will show you, and then I will put up a picture because the ring light is going to hate this one. Misty, I wish your books were in matte. But I have already told this story a few times now, but we'll tell it again. I follow Misty Walker on TikTok. I really love her author talk. I think she is funny and sweet, and she writes biker romances and also gay romances, and she's great. And she has a biker series that she's always showing on her channel, or her page, whatever it's called, in TikTok. And I don't normally like biker. I've talked about it many, many times. I don't like the biker culture. I don't like the words that they use. I think it's crass and very degrading, and there's never like a good enough reason for me. But she was having a sale of her books, and I really wanted to support her, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to buy these books, and I'm going to try them, and if I don't like them, then I'll just give them away. Like, that'll be fine. I'll just do a giveaway, and I still supported her by buying her books, and so I bought all 4 of them, and I've really enjoyed them. They just got better and better and better for me. And the first one, there is still a little bit of that, like, biker talk and that going on, but the heroine in that book really calls them out on speaking to her that way, and he's like, that's just how we do it. And she's like, I don't care. If you respect me, like, don't talk to me that way. And as, like, that person, you know, joins because she's with that hero, like, they get kind of up to snuff a little more in each one. And so I've really enjoyed all of them. I read all 4 of them in 2 days, but my favorite one that I've read so far is Bexley's Biker, and this is about a lawyer who is on retainer for the club, and the vice president, Con, aka Wes, who is in trouble for a grand theft auto. I think that's what he did. He's on camera doing something wrong. And Bexley, she has her past come to haunt her in the form of her, not even ex-husband, her current husband, who she had stolen a lot of money from and ran away because he was abusive, both physically and emotionally, and he was a lot older than her, and so she stole his money, moved away, changed her name, and became a lawyer in Reno, Nevada, where she built up her clientele as a defense attorney with not the most reputable people, because she wanted to have some people in her pocket if she needed them. She is a smart, savvy woman. She is voluptuous. She's like, I don't know if I call her full plus size, but she is, think that, you know, she dresses amazing, but she's a voluptuous woman. And Con, the hero in this one, he normally is with these very, like, tiny, petite ladies, but he has a major man boner for Bexley, and they have this very antagonistic relationship. But when he gets put in prison and she's going to be working on his case, they are in more proximity to each other, and he goes full, like, I am going to have you mode. That's what's happening. And yeah, this one is very kinky. There is a lot of fun toys and things going on. Con is pierced in the downstairs area. Bexley gets an interesting piercing during this one as well, and they're just great. Like, I loved the story in this one. This one had some suspense elements to it as well, because we have not only what Con is dealing with, but we have what Bexley is dealing with, and then we have Con trying to take care of Bexley, and Bexley being like, you idiot, you're going to ruin everything. And this one does have I wouldn't even fully call it a third act breakup. It's a little bit earlier than that, because they do get together pretty early on, and then there is a breakup that happens. And I was like, oh man, what's happening? But this breakup is a big part of the plot, so I don't want to, like, spoil it. And the fact that there was a payoff for them needing to be broken up really won me over, and I loved it. I loved Bexley. I loved Con. This is my favorite one I've read so far, and I can't wait to read more, because Misty Walker has won me over. Finally found a biker series that I can happily promote and talk to people about. Love it. Love it, love it. And then the last one I want to talk about, which I will talk about pretty quickly because everything about it is spoilers at this point, Filthy King by Serena Akeroyd, and I am so happy to have read this. This one comes out very soon. It comes out June 2nd. Probably it will be out when you're seeing this. Not sure when I'm putting this video up. but this is book 7 in the Filthy Fecker series, or the 5 Points Mob. This book is going back to Aiden Jr. because of some events that happened in Filthy Secret, which I can't like spoil for you, and Savannah, his wife. They are newlywed, kind of, and Aiden has some new responsibilities that he's having to take on, and this isn't a marriage in trouble, it's really just back with this couple, and their marriage isn't so much in trouble as they're going through a transition because of Aiden's new responsibilities and what that means for Savannah and their marriage, how they are going to tackle that together, as well as moving the plot forward, leading towards our finale, which we're coming closer and closer to. This book was great. I've said in my review, when I talked about this in my weekly wrap-up, that I loved this book so much because Serena really cut back on all the extra POVs, which was a big problem for me in Filthy Secret. Filthy Secret really shouldn't have been focused on one couple, in my opinion, which I know for like a romance novel you need to do. But for what Filthy Secret was, I think it just should have been like, this is a 5 Points Mob novel, and you're going to see everyone. Because the amount of POVs in that book was very distracting and overwhelming. Whereas in this one, it is 95% focused on Aiden and Savannah. And when we're interacting with other characters, it's because they're interacting with them. We do get a few chapters from other POVs, and their purpose is to point us towards future books. So there is the Sinner MC, like there is a POV of someone from there. There's a POV of one of our Bratva men, because the Bratva series is going to be starting soon. And then there's a POV of another person that I can't remember. And then Lodestar and Connor kind of like bookend the book, because Filthy Feck will finally be Connor and Lodestar. And I don't want to say enjoy Lodestar's POV, because she's got some scary shit happening in her POV, but it definitely is more like it's setting up for when we get to her book and we find out the situation she's placed herself in, and that's not the smartest move she's ever made. So I appreciated this. I always love Serena Akeroyd's writing and her characters, and this was, I don't want to say like this is one of her spiciest books ever, because I've read some of hers that are very, very spicy, but this one was a 4.5 on my spice scale. This one was very kinky. Savannah is a brat, like in the BDSM form, like she's a brat, and Aiden very much enjoys her being a brat so that he can punish her for being a brat, and I love that stuff. Love it, love it, love it so much. I'm here for it. So yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all we had to touch on. June has a lot of fun things coming up. Make sure you've checked out my June TBR if you want to know more about what I'm going to be reading and the things that I'm going to be doing in June. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this. Thank you to everyone who has supported me this first month on my own. If you would like to support me or check out what the options are, I do have links to signing up for a channel membership and my Patreon down below. If you just want to check it out, you're always welcome to follow my Patreon, whether you join or not, because I do giveaways that are open to everyone. So you can definitely check that out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.